Housekeepers who worked in casinos, hotels, what's the weirdest thing you walked into? A couple came to this luxury dude ranch I worked at and spent over $5,000 to stay there only to not come out of their room the entire time. Went in to clean the room when they left and saw incredibly expensive and opened alcohol and boxes of toys around the room. On the bed they left a note that said enjoy. What? We threw out the toys and got hammered that night. They didn't use the toys. They used the bottles. I worked in a casino where I watched a middle-aged man literally shake a solid turd down his pant leg, sit back down and continued on his machine. I turned around with backpack vacuum on and went to my lunch break. I didn't get paid enough to pick up strangers. Everyone knows you don't quit on a hot streak. What if the hot streak is running down your thighs? I worked as a concierge for an upscale hotel, so naturally, because there wasn't a line for my desk, I fielded complaints regularly. One day a woman, very nice and patient, rare, calmly explained to me that her 5-year-old opened the door to their bathroom and there was a housekeeper pooping in there. The housekeeper and the boy screamed so loudly that I had already gotten noise complaints from the adjacent rooms. Needless to say, that family got a free night and an upgrade. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Not me, but my friend from Ukraine worked at a crappy casino hotel in Wendover, Nevada, because they would sponsor his work visa. He wasn't a housekeeper but would have to do maintenance in rooms. He said one day he went to a room where the people had already checked out and there was a chicken in the room. Like a live chicken, just chilling there. Maybe the story is funnier when he tells it with his accent. Why is chicken in room? Hotel worker. Had an American guy come into our hotel. Meant to be staying for 3 days. Went into his room and never left the room in over 2 weeks. He kept phoning down to extend his stay. The strange thing was, he had the same routine every day. Around 8 AM, he would order 8 bottles of beer and 20 cigarettes to be sent up to his room. He'd sign the check off to his room for the beers but had to pay cash for the cigarettes as they came from the hotel shop, which wasn't owned by the hotel, therefore wasn't able to charge to the room. The cigarettes came to around £11, and he would always give us a £20 note and told us to keep the change. Lunchtime rolls around, and again, 8 bottles of beer and 20 cigarettes. Come dinner time, again, another 8 beers, but 40 cigarettes this time, assuming to keep the stock of when the shop closed at night time. This happened every day he was staying with us. No one ever saw him leave the hotel, so assumed he had a stack of £20 notes to pay for his cigarettes. He also instructed housekeeping not to clean his room. When he eventually left, the maid was greeted with hundreds of empty beer bottles. The bin was half full with cigarette ends and ash, and the room was left remarkably clean, albeit smelling awful. We tried to research the guy, but could only find he was part of an American broadcasting company. It was a long time ago and can't remember, so assumed he was over here to lie low. He checked out, paid off his bill, didn't even bother to check the bill, into a taxi and never to be seen again. Someone I know worked housekeeping at a casino. He walked in on a guy smearing shit over the walls with his bare hands. He was pissed that he lost money and thought he was justified to do it. Housekeeping called security. He was charged and banned. Well, he had luck, am I right? I worked for a hotel chain in Colorado and one day my co-worker and I went to strip a bed and the bed was full of oranges. The dresser oranges. Side table, cans of mandarin oranges. Not exactly shocking or disgusting, but it was weird. Cleaned a room that contained both a deck of Uno cards and a knockoff deck of Ono cards. Oh no. I think about this question every time I go to Vegas. Vegas housekeeping would be the highest rated reality show ever. American Horror Story, Vegas housekeeping. This is related but not exactly the question. When my wife and I were looking at wedding venues, one we went to was a hotel. The event manager wanted to take us up and show us the honeymoon suite. She opened the door. And there were two old men, like 60s 70s, shirtless, drinking vodka in the room. She was so extremely embarrassed and apologetic. She was very sweet too. But you could tell she was so mad at whoever screwed that up for her. We didn't choose the place, wasn't why. But I hadn't thought about that in a while. And figured someone else may get a kick out of it. There were two old, like 60s 70s, shirtless, drinking vodka in the room. Shirtless what? Chickens? Why is chicken in room? I used to work in reservations in a big chain hotel in London. Housekeeping once told us there was one regular guest who used to always leave a single whole intact raw egg in the bed when they checked out. Nobody ever figured out why or where on earth they got that single raw egg in the middle of central London. Grocery stores aren't frequent in the area and they certainly don't sell eggs one by one. Perhaps it's the same guy who brought a live chicken in the other comment. They randomly found a chicken in the room. But which came first? We had a hotel room one time and checked in around 3-4ish. Can't remember what hotel it was. When we walked in, one of the housekeepers was asleep in the chair. Apparently had taken a rest and checked out. For who knows how long. We woke her up when we came in the room. She was very apologetic and took her cart and stuff with her right away. We never said anything to the staff or saw her again. The room was all clean and set up, so nothing to complain about. I walked in on a couple sleeping on the bathroom floor of a hotel room in the hotel I work for. The bed was untouched and everything was normal with that one exception. Drunk AF, no doubt. Had a teacher who was the manager of Marriott in Germany for a while. She has wild stories. Once found an anaconda in the bathroom, wrapped around the shower curtain pole. Pulled naked devil worshippers out of the pool at 3 AM when the pool closed and they refused to get out. They weren't even guests. Saw the janitor with a wheelbarrow, a hose, and a shovel. He went somewhere. Went to lunch and came back. After his lunch she followed him and asked what was up. He didn't speak good German and just said cleaning up African lady leg. Turned out some lady had jumped from the top floor of one side of the building. Hotel was kind of like an L shape. One side higher than the other. Hit the emergency ladder on the way down and had her leg torn off before becoming mush on the roof of the other side of the building. He had shoveled most of her into the wheelbarrow at this point. Was just working on getting her leg unstuck from the ladder. Cleaning up African lady leg. You were answered correctly and fully. In spite of the language barrier. I'm working the graveyard shift many years back. It's just me there. And a public space attendant. Basically housekeeping for the common areas and general go-fare, Alex. So this night I'm plugging away on some numbers and he radios me in hysterics insisting I come up to the second floor. So I grab my keys and jump in the elevator, and when the doors opened on the second floor hallway, I nearly lost my lunch all over the elevator. Immediately outside the elevator, there were brown, lumpy clumps hanging off of everything. Dripping ink repellent stalactites from the ceiling. Stippling the walls and doors. Tracked in huge streaks across the carpet, glistening wet and awful everywhere you looked. Next to one of the doors were all of the bed linens from a room that looked like someone took them mud wrestling. It was horrific and completely surreal. And my jaw dropped open. Then, without missing a beat and before my brain could even finish jumping up on a chair and squealing new, like a housewife seeing a rat, Alex grabs this wad off the wall, tosses it into his mouth and swallows it in front of me. Noosh. In fact, as he proudly announced, seeing as I was turning green, free holies. Some absolute monster had emptied a quart, just shy of a liter if memory serves, can of refried beans into their bed sheets. Mushed them all together. And then taken that mess into the hallway in front of their room and shaken them out like an old drug or a wet dog. Flinging beans onto every surface for an impressive distance in every direction. Alex, seeing me turn green with horror, laughed for pretty much the rest of the evening. The next day management charged the guests a ridiculously small cleanup fee considering the scope and maliciousness of the mess. And they never offered any explanation as to why they had decided to bean spackle the hallway. Why was Alex so metal as to eat recently in a bed currently on a wall footstuffs just to F with me? You kinda had to know him. But he a commitment to comedy and chaos that I remember very fondly to this day. Dude was as awesome a partner in crime as you could ask for.